everybody, this is Sarahscopic and you're watching Traffic Musings. So I just got some food from McDonald's because I forgot to eat lunch today from my internship. Well, okay, so I'm leaving my internship really early because by the point you guys see this, I will be done with my internship. But today's like my second to last day and tomorrow's my last day. I'm pretty much done. I don't even really have anything left I have to do. I basically am going there as like a courtesy at this point. And perhaps in the next episode, I will actually reveal to you guys what my internship actually is. Not that most of you guys don't already know. If you're friends with me, you know where I'm working. As I think I explained, I've just been, keeping it close to the chest. And actually, I will explain on Wednesday, which, in 2 days, which you guys will be seeing this many weeks from now. You'll understand once I tell you why exactly I've been so quiet about this. I figure at the end of the internship, it probably doesn't matter that much because it will have been so much in the past, but that's okay. So anyway, that's how I was going to talk about. I was going to talk the fact that I was eating McDonald's today because I left early from internship. I didn't eat lunch. Did I mention that part? Anyway, and it's so funny because I think about my relationship with McDonald's has always been a tumultuous one. When I was younger, I actually ate McDonald's food a lot. You have to understand one thing about me when I was little. I was an extremely picky eater. I would argue that I was not any more picky than probably most kids my age, but I was significantly more picky than probably my peer group at the time, and certainly like the friends and the neighbors of my area and stuff like that. I was an extremely picky eater. When I was younger, the only food that you could always get me to eat would be hamburgers, ketchup only. Like, that was the thing. That was the thing you could get me to eat. And McDonald's hamburgers happened to be one of those things that I really liked. And so I would always eat those. Now, my mom wasn't the type to be like, oh, we can't feed Sarah anything, so we're just gonna give her McDonald's hamburgers. That's not really what happened. It wasn't that. It's just that my life and my mom's lives, we were under the whole thing where our lives were very busy. And so, and McDonald's was always convenient and cheap, and I was being herded from place to place, and my mom was always on errands and very busy. And so, like most moms during that time, she got us McDonald's food. And it was just convenience, that's all. And I mean, on Sundays after church, it was also kind of a treat because my brother really liked Rally Burgers and I really liked McDonald's. I should probably mention real quick, this is not a sponsor from McDonald's, so please don't think that. Oh my goodness, no. Especially since later on. Thank you. Yes, as Gabby will tell you, it is not an endorsement from McDonald's. Thank you. Or Rally's, or any of those places. Eat what you want, folks. I don't care. Anyway. So we used to eat McDonald's food, and I remember we would eat, I think, 2 to 3 times a week. We would have dinner, we might have McDonald's dinners or fast food, and stuff like that. And the thing I remember is that at my elementary school, there was this huge push for healthy eating with young kids, and so we would have kids my age that would stand up and talk about how their parents never got them fast food because that was super unhealthy, and so they were always making meals by scratch, and we had to watch all these videos about nutrition. And looking back, it unfortunately had this very negative impact on me. I've been very fortunate, and I've been very fortunate, for lack of a better term. I've never had bulimia or anorexia or have had any of an eating disorder. But I will say that the whole healthy food thing did have a strong impact on me, and I had a very difficult time with it as a child because I knew I was a picky eater. Now, of course, when I was really little, I didn't care that I was a picky eater. You just got me what food I wanted, and I was very unapologetic about it. But I became very embarrassed about it. I did not like the fact that I was a picky eater because to me it was uncontrolled. I could not control my gag reflex, and I could not control that certain foods just seemed disgusting to me. Simple foods like fried eggs. Fried eggs seem disgusting to me. And, grilled cheese for a long time seemed disgusting to me. Mac and cheese, I still don't like mac and cheese, but that's beside the point. But simple foods like that it was very difficult to feed me as a kid. Well, okay, my mom probably said it would be fine, but I really do feel like it was very difficult to feed me. And it was very embarrassing for me because we were close friends with a family where the mom home cooked all her meals, and they were very delicious meals. But because I was a picky eater, I had a hard time consuming them. Now, The problem, of course, is that I remember the stories always differently. I've always been told that I would like cry and throw a fit when I didn't get the food I want. Maybe when I was really, really little, but I remember more of when I was like between like 7 and 10 being very, very scared. I would remember sitting down and having a plate of food in front of me that she had home cooked and not knowing what to do because I would maybe try it and it would just be so gross to me. And it wasn't that she prepared it bad, it's just I was a picky eater. I couldn't stand it. I don't know how to explain it to people. It's just hard to explain to someone where you look at a food and it just doesn't seem appetizing and you take a bite and you feel like you're gonna throw up. It's a really bad thing. Like, I hated it. I hated being a picky eater. I very much was. It was so embarrassing for me. But the problem was that too, I was also had this issue where I was being told from a young age that I needed to eat healthier, and because obesity was starting to become rampant with our age group, and so you had to be careful that you didn't eat unhealthily and stuff like that. And I actually, to this day, if you ever see me try to butter something, I put too little butter because I remember being told that you should have no more than, I kid you not, a thumb's worth of butter a day. That was what I was told when I was 8 years old, and that affected how I ate. And I wasn't necessarily unhealthy. I never really had issues, and so I guess it was good for some part, but it was also very scary because I didn't, how do you tell a kid you need to eat more of this stuff when, for me, I didn't want to. It did not sound good, and so it was just a lot of problems with that. I still remember when I was in 8th grade, I think it was in 8th grade, basically by the time I kind of hit puberty and teenage years, my pickiness was gone. It suddenly just up and left one day. I don't know how else to explain it because I still distinctly remember my father made a fried egg one day, and I looked at it and I was like, "Oh, Dad, what's that?" And I had seen it before. I remember this was a fried egg, and he tells me it's a fried egg, and it looked and smelled delicious to me. I never even had it. I just knew that if I ate that fried egg, I would be a happy camper. Like, it would be fine. And I was so relieved. I remember this moment of my life so distinctly. No one else probably remembers this, least of all my dad, but I remember that moment because I was probably ready to cry because I was so happy. At that moment, I finally was no longer a picky eater. And it was euphoric for me because all of a sudden there were all these foods I was so willing to try. Like, our family, my father then one day brought home sushi, which my parents have always brought home sushi, but this particular time he brought sushi home one day, and I was like, "Oh, what's that?" And I had sushi before when I was younger, like really, really little, but I wasn't a big fan of it because picky eater. So my dad had brought home sushi, and I was like, "What's that?" He's like, "Oh, it's sushi. Would you like some?" Yes. Tried it. Delicious. Oh my goodness. And the world just opened up for me. Everything just finally, I don't know how else to, it was just crazy. It was great. It was fantastic. And all of a sudden, all these foods that normally I remember gagging and feeling sick and not wanting to try because it just made me so nauseous, all of a sudden just seemed so good to me. My father wanted to make a grilled cheese one day, and I asked for one because suddenly a grilled cheese sounded delicious, and I tried it and I loved it. And it was such a new experience for me. It was so different. I put onions in things. I would try pepper, and that was okay. So much opened up for me. So many kinds of foods I could suddenly eat without gagging. Suddenly, going over with home-cooked meals was no longer terrifying for me because I was willing to eat it, and it was fine, and it tasted so good, and it was a crazy, crazy experience. Thankfully, most people who know me don't know me as the picky eater, but there are a couple of family friends and some family members that still remember when I was a picky eater, and I always hate it because they sometimes will bring it up. Sometimes they're worried I won't eat something. Usually they're better about it, but sometimes they just bring it up, and the problem is that it's an embarrassing time for me. That period of my life, I was mortified. I was absolutely mortified that I could not eat those foods that other people ate. I was mortified that I felt like gagging. I was mortified by it. I felt like I couldn't control it, even though a lot of people said that I was overreacting. And maybe when I was really little, I was overreacting, but I sort of don't remember. I was also gonna add, and I'm now over time, but I'll add this too. The reason I brought the McDonald's was because there was a certain point I did swear off fast food for a while. My brother brought home Fast Food Nation, the book, and started reading excerpts of it. And that day, I said to my family, no more fast food. And so our family, we just found ways around it. It's so funny. I was the one who had to make the announcement. For some reason, I was the one that put this rule on everybody. And my parents didn't care. I think my brother was willing to comply for a while. And so for several years, our family just did not do fast food anymore. And it was pretty great. I mean, we had to figure out meals different ways, and we made concessions. We were okay with Quiznos and those kind, Panera Bread, which, are those fast food, casual, whatever, which was fine, and stuff like that. But it was kind of nice just to kind of explore other food options. And thankfully, that whole Fast Food Nation thing with the McDonald's happened around the time that I was my food awakening, so it wasn't as big of a crisis for me. Now, when did I start eating fast food again? I don't remember. Probably high school at some point. We laid off for probably a good 2 to 3 years, maybe. Actually, no. I probably stopped eating fast food all through middle school, I think, and then probably back in when I was in high school, I started eating again. Not regularly by any stretch of the imagination, but basically, the Fast Food Nation book scare tactics didn't scare me anymore. Now, not to say the stuff in there isn't true, but we just did it every once in a while. And now, I don't really eat fast food that regularly. So it was kind of good because it was no longer something I was not necessarily addicted to, but you know what I mean. So yeah, so that's about me and my big food habits. So tell me in the comments below. Tell me a food that you hate that everyone has tried to convince you to like and you don't get it. That's it. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. I hope something amazing happens to you. Without further ado, I hope to see you all in the next episode.